One? Ha! That's right. I am number one.
So, Primos is pretty good. Too bad it got brutally shot and thrown in a gutter to drown after a tiny bit of controversy. As a capital G gringo, I'm not going to step into that minefield. This is more of a video for those who want to know my opinion on the show. Plenty of other great video essays have been made going over the pre-release PR nightmare for Primos, and I don't really have a lot to say about that. I observed all of that from afar. I've seen the fire quell and the reviews come in the past few months about the quality of the show, and I've witnessed the fandom wars between the Haley PFPs and the Tater PFPs on Twitter, and the delusional copium for a secret season 2. Animation has been in a pretty bad place recently, I think we can all agree. Regardless of your opinion on the quality of new shows, a lot of shows with potential to be hits or go great places are getting one-and-done seasons. I thought the way that Warner Bros. Discovery treated previous video subject The Fungies was bad by sending it to the Shadow Realm immediately after airing all of its episodes, but at least that show got multiple seasons.
I love you now, now that I am in control of you.
It's not like this was unheard of before. I remember when they literally told us that Mau Mau Season 2 was in production, and then we learned it wasn't going to happen through vague posts on Twitter by known comedic genius and lunatic Parker Simmons.
Where were you when I needed you? Where were you? Jellystone's great. Where were you?
But this all feels like extra bullshit these days. Like, there's a distinct lack of any hope in the industry, and people involved are just trying their best to hold on to what they have. So many lost jobs, tech companies thinking AI and other complete dog shit like that is good. Things are bad. So instead of drowning in that sorrow and the regrets about that underrated gem that you love being canceled too early, how about I try to shine some light on a show that really charmed me against all odds? So why is it that this show is the one that I felt compelled to get back into making videos over? Well, truth be told, it wasn't. That honor goes to Stugo. However, I wanted to wait until that season was over, or was at least on a break or something, before I gave my thoughts. Primos, however, is donezo, and I've spent the past few weeks watching it whenever I had the free time. It has occupied way more of my mind share than I ever expected it to. When I first saw that little demo pitch on some CO thread back in the day, I remember thinking, yeah, that looks pretty cute, and just moving on. It looked to me exactly like what it was going for. Big City Greens 2. Not literally, but spiritually, and I wasn't really over the moon about it. Just mildly interested to see what it offered, like I am with a lot of shows, to be fair. Some shows hit you like a nuke, like Stugo, and make you go, "Wallahi, this will be peak." But some are like Primos, and you gotta put it on a pinboard for a rainy day. However, the more time passed and discourse came and went, the more I sorta kept eyeing the show. It was one of those perennial, I gotta get to this eventually kind of shows, but I meant it genuinely deep down. When it ended, that spark ignited, and well, now I've watched it all, and I want to take you through my feelings. Join me, dear viewers, as we yap about this ill-fated cartoon for far too long. So maybe my most controversial statement in this video will come first, because I want to get this out of the way before we get into the nitty-gritty. I think the show visually looks good. Obviously, taste is a big factor in this, and I'll be the first to admit that I take something more visually striking or ambitious any day, but I also think this truly works really well for what it is. I don't even mean, well, for a comedy slice of life cartoon it looks good. It makes sense that a series about a girl constantly writing and drawing in her diary would look like this. Very big Lizzie McGuire vibes, and that's a big compliment for me because I fucking love Deborah Solomon's art style, and I curse the moon that we never got a full series from her. Please God, Check out the pilot Nikki if you haven't. It is so good. If there is one consistent issue with the art in Primos, it's that very few times does it feel like it really pushes the visuals. It does get way better later into the show, but that of course is a shame because, you know, it's dead now. I would say the song sequences are where you get the most innovative animation. I'd say in general that the songs are like unusually good. I didn't expect some of these songs to be so goddamn fire, but here we are, bumping Tater 2.0 for the 100th time. As the gayest straight guy on earth, I love me some musical numbers, and I feel like Disney tends to make most of their shows into musicals, so it's really impressive that this can stand out in the shadow of shows like Kif and Molly McGee and the 45th new Dwampyverse show that I didn't know existed until making this video. Even the haters are in the comments like, yeah, this shit rocks. But of course, the songs wouldn't be much if it weren't for the characters and stories bringing them to life. Tater is low-key one of my favorite DTVA protagonists in recent years. I feel like everyone is just a different flavor of generically excited girl, and Tater definitely has that in her DNA for sure, but she has a lot more of the antisocial nerd DNA. Sorry if I sound like a 30-year-old guy for bringing up MLP, but it reminds me of Twilight from MLP. Someone who begins the story very hesitant to engage with her situation because of her dedication to her own status quo and her personal agenda, but is moved and changed by the people in her life that she once thought of as a nuisance. Now, to be fair, Twilight gets this lesson in like 2 episodes, so it's not really a big character arc or anything for her, but in comparison, Tater slowly blossoms as a character throughout the whole first season. It's actually extremely impressive given that there was another season planned after this, yet she ends on a really strong and very natural feeling note here. At the start, she is very much getting dragged into antics by her family and is single-mindedly trying to ignore or rebuff them to focus on her big dreams of finding out who she is, or her final form as she calls it. As the series goes on though, she ends up being the one to drag them into her orbit and get them involved in whatever stupid scheme she's cooking up. I always love troublemakers and schemers as protagonists. Call me a network exec, because I love me some proactive characters, especially ones that start passive and are forced by the inertia of the story and their own growth to become more proactive. And underhanded, selfish protagonists are a million times more interesting than another friendly nice girl whose biggest flaw is that she's kinda awkward or too friendly or whatever. Tater is very much full of herself and has turned making any situation about her into an art form. And like many people with a massive ego, it is very fragile. In the best episode in the show, about the best character in the show, her sister Nellie has a catastrophic crash out from this exact character trait. I could definitely see people finding Tater annoying because of all this, but I grew to love this little freak. I saw a lot of myself in her, as I'm also someone who really tries to lead every situation, can be very controlling and bossy, and has an extremely high opinion of myself. You see that OKKO video? Good times. I'll say that Tater was definitely toned down a bit from the pilot, but actually, hot take, I kind of prefer the pilot episode to its adaptation. It feels like there's actually real conflict in it, and I think Tater's breakdown towards the end when she's venting to Lita, or Proto-Lita, whatever the hell she's called, feels very real for a kid. There's a few times in the show where they actually nail the fact that, yeah, she's like 9. A lot of times, modern kids shows kind of write the protagonists as mini adults, and that's definitely the case here for the most part, but I think of the D&D episode and always chuckle at this scene of Tater babbling to her mom about everything that just happened to her. It's a very real kid moment from her.
And they're mean.
Big nah!
Cool it, babe. Steady, girl. Your baby needs to work this out on her own.
Anyway, Nellie, however, is the shit. What a wonderful character. It's funny. I felt like for a long time as a kid, I was sick of seeing sibling relationships where the two fight all the time, or the older one picks on the younger one. Stuff like Gravity Falls really impressed me back in the day, and dear God, do I feel old realizing that 2012 is back in the day. because Dipper and Mabel were very close friends. Now, I feel like the pendulum has swung the other way, and I really just want to see some of the most neurotic, toxic fucking sibling relationships you've ever seen. And her time in the show is woefully brief, but dear God, does Nellie deliver.
Wow, it's like you both think I'm nothing but a supporting role to aid your character development. Real protagonist, out!
Nellie is a lot more go with the flow, laid back and quiet, but she is also a code red fucking S-class hater towards literally anything that Tater says or does. She is a bit more prominent early on, throwing barbs at her littler big sister whenever she gets too big for her britches. But as the show goes on and focuses on Tater with the other Primos, she gets kinda shoved into the background. At first I was pretty disappointed by this since I liked her so much from early on. I am a younger sibling myself, and despite being on good terms with my brother, I have definitely felt like he stole all the limelight and left me alone in the corner and tight-lipped in front of our family members. That was until Summer of Imitator, which comes late enough in the series that Tater has really started to befriend all the Primos and start to become the center of their universe. Nellie ends up committing to being a hater so hard that she literally dresses up as her sister, acts like her, steals all of her attention, and stunts on her with, again, the best song in the whole series. And this episode is so juicy because it's a rare episode not from Tater's POV. So we end up seeing the world from Nellie's mind and how much seething rage and deep-seated darkness and hate this 8-year-old child has for her sister for the crime of existing. It's really funny, but also extremely relatable and sad. There was actually another cut episode going over their relationship and included another bangin' bangerino song.
We're gonna work, yeah, we'll be working together, me in the front, oh, back me up for whatever comes, I know you're never ever gonna be alone, Nellie, keep going,
Fuck yeah. But God Hates Me and budget issues related to the controversy ended up meaning the episode got cut. Instead, to close out their character arc, we got the Primo Olympics episode, which also valiantly tries to include non-character baby Bud into the mix. It's a pretty fun episode, but it's lacking the emotional punch you'd expect from what is ostensibly the last sibling rivalry episode, especially because the mom and dad, BB and Bud, both got their own really excellent bookends. BB even got a full-on POV like Nellie did with the Imitator episode, where she also crashes out due to Tater's actions. This girl is a menace to her entire family. BB and Bud don't get a ton of focus, but you know me. I love me some good cartoon moms, and BB is an exceptional one. From the moment she started doing sock puppet shows for the other kids, I knew she was a pure soul. And Bud, well, his one focus episode isn't one of my favorites, but he gets some truly great moments with his daughter. Summer of El Futuro, excuse the pronunciation, still has maybe my favorite ending in the whole show and also one of the best songs in the whole show. I don't really have time or desire to go in depth with all 12 of the other Primos, but I'll definitely say that they all got their flowers by the end. Even someone like Cha-Cha, who is just a chaos beast, I ended up loving. I definitely like some better than others, like the T-Sisters never really blew me away with any episode, though I do love Tonita.
My respect is earned, not given.
To me, it definitely feels like they poured a lot of love and pathos into Lita, and she gets some really great episodes. Summer of El Demo definitely got me to cry by the end, like the sad little baby man that I am. Felt like a good full circle moment from the pilot, where that had her giving advice to Tater, and now Tater is able to give her advice in return. Lot Lot also really stood out to me, mainly because her voice performance really captures that spooky ghost girl vibe extremely well. She's one of the first one to get a focused episode, and one of her last big moments in the series is the iguana episode, and that one totally rules. So, I don't know, she just went on a very memorable note for me. Also, she gets a theme song takeover, so that's a net good for all of society.
Can you help me get this giant logo out of here?
Oh, it can do that itself. It's made out of spiders.
Oh. Wait, did you say spider?
I think the two I probably didn't expect to like as much as I did were Big Nacho and Nachito. I love Nachito. He's such a little ray of sunshine. Here's a counterexample of what I talked about with Tater and Nellie, where this kid fucking loves his older bro. Honestly, he's even cuter to me than the comedically adorable Pusita. Wait, was that her name? Or the way that Nachito and even Tater later on are fawning over how cool Big Nacho is did a lot to sell me on both characters. I was surprised that Nachito got some pretty great moments early on in the series when I was still unsure how I felt about it all. Big Nacho is a little more complicated, I feel. Let's be frank here. This show has a lot of fart jokes. I'm no hater of fart jokes, nor am I a psychopathic cartoon reviewer that thinks all fart jokes are secretly devious fetish bait. But when you introduce the fat guy who farts all the time, I'm not exactly thrilled about his potential as a character. However, perspective, I am 30, so yeah, I can roll my eyes like I'm some fucking guy who's better than all of this and I've outgrown it. But lest we forget, Centaur World is one of my very favorite shows on this planet.
Are you gonna put that out?
Are you gonna fart again?
But yeah, I do like Big Nacho. He may be a fat fart man, as I've described before, but he also does have a lot of confidence, and the series never really mocks him for being fat or overconfident. He is a weirdly wise and sensitive guy overall, and I loved how in the I gotta impress this girl episode, he bails on the stupid plan Tater drafted because he realizes pretty quickly that this girl is just into him and he doesn't need to employ emotional manipulation to get her. It's nothing crazy, but it's a nice layer of maturity for a pretty two-dimensional character. Also, for what it's worth, this show is very equal opportunity with its fart jokes. I will say that the previously mentioned D&D episode with him and the other older Primos, minus Tavi who serves too much cunt to do improv comedy, is one of my favorites, and I loved his Dark Souls literally Onion Knight character. Hey everybody, Editing Wyatt here. There's a couple things that I completely forgot to mention, either genuinely forgot to write in the script or only learned after writing the script, and I just remember them while I'm editing this. So first of all, forgot to talk about Cousin Bud. He is a character that really surprised me because at first I was like, whatever, he's the hippie guy. I'm not too crazy about him. He's kind of corny or whatever, but Summer of Breaking Bud was fucking hilarious, and I think just overall I ended up really liking him, just like with pretty much every character. And also, speaking of that, I mentioned that I wasn't crazy about the T-Sisters, like they're funny as a group, but none of them really stood out on their own except for Tonita. Apparently, 2 of the cut episodes, of which there's 4, had significant sections with Tere, the middle child of them, and the one about Tater's hair was really good because she gets a lot of good funny moments. And she's more present in that one, but then there's one that's about her from like an emotional angle. It's about them trying to find her in a mall and like her special connection with butterflies and everything. And that one was very touching, so I really like her as well, even though those episodes I guess are not canon. Also, I didn't bring up the Vision Tiger, who isn't really a character. He's more just like a presence. He's not exactly like Hobbs from Calvin and Hobbes or anything, but he gets a couple episodes where he's pretty prominent, and actually another one of the cut episodes, he is pretty significant in that one, and it acts as like kind of a wrap up for his character and like the whole arc with Tater and her vision board and everything. So like, yeah, it sucks, I guess, that they had to cut all that shit because of the controversy, but what are you gonna do? Anyway, he's cool. I like him. I want that marketable plush on eBay. Back to the regular video. And speaking of being 30 and being too old for certain types of humor, I think maybe one of the biggest hurdles I had when mulling over this show in my mind and where it stands next to other similar shows is the humor. I think, for the most part, it's pretty funny. Some moments or whole episodes are extremely good at that. Taternomics is one that had me howling with how brazenly awful and self-serving Tater was, and in general the subplot about romancomorphs and Tater's obsession with Capybara and writing fanfics with her friend is all adorable and excellent. Summer of El Cringe was probably the funniest episode to me because goddamn have I been there.
Is this all cringe? My love.
I should bring up Serena a little bit, who, despite her small presence in the show, is a fantastic addition to the cast, and for Tater. This is another very real kid thing where becoming friends is so much easier as a 9-year-old. You literally like the same shitty romantasy series and then now you're life partners. Summer of Elle fanfic is another fantastic episode involving them, especially as a writer who always has to remind myself to write the bad version first, then you can just fix it later. I don't do that with these scripts, I just write one draft and then wing it when I'm recording, but, you know. It also reminds me of that plotline in Anne of Green Gables, if any of my audience has ever read that book, where all the girls start a writing circle and are trading their bad stories back and forth with each other. It's just the most adorable thing ever conceived. Very charming. But, all that being said, this show is on a whole not really anywhere near as consistently funny as Big City Greens, and dear God, not even close to Stugo. There is just a certain punchiness not present that those other two shows have in spades. Stugo more so. It definitely gets a lot stronger in general as it goes, but yeah, it's just not up to par in that department. However, I think it does stand out from the crowd in two very important areas: the writing and the feelings.
Weird? I thought this summer was going to be about me and my dreams, but instead life got in the way. Well, came to visit, and even though it was unexpected, it turned out to be just what I needed. Being surrounded by family is a gift. They're actually helping me figure out my true self, and I can't wait to see what we do next.
Yeah, because there's still a whole lot of summer left.
That's right. And I still need to figure out my final form.
For better or for worse, and I would say for better with me personally, this is a very sappy show. Big City Greens definitely has this occasional sappy episode, and even Stugo has constructed some weirdly emotional moments out of the dumbest shit you've ever seen, but Primos really goes for it. It wears its heart on its sleeve. Almost every episode tries to tell a character-driven story first and foremost. I think focusing so much on Tater over everyone else really adds to the impact of her growth. Every inch we see her take feels like a small step towards her goal of her Hyukyokukanzentai. Part of Tater's conflict through the series stems from the fact that she sort of neglected her own heritage. She doesn't really understand Spanish, nor can she speak it very well, so she frequently conflicts with the world around her with the way that she's supposed to be versus how she is and how she wants to be. Her journey of self-discovery grows from a vague notion of wanting to be some idealized version of herself in the future to just wanting to be accepted in the present for who she is. Definitely by the end, there is a critical mass of really touching episodes that feel like they represent a lot of the turmoil that certainly the showrunner Natasha Klein and maybe many of the crew must have felt as kids. So while yeah, it's pretty mild overall in terms of comedy, it doesn't really stack up to Big City Greens in that regard, it does actually remind me a lot of another show, Harvey Beaks. I have long wanted to make a video on that show, and hopefully I can find the time to do so later in the year. But that show is so beautiful while being so stupid and almost oppressively earnest and sweet. It's not for everybody, but it is for me, and I can feel just a flicker of that DNA alive and well in Primos. I too watch so much stuff that's just funny or just cool that I forget sometimes the fact that an episode plot being engaging and well structured is enough to keep you going. Hell, Big City Greens can be a complete fucking mess with its stories half the time. Way too many subplots, characters speaking aloud the conflict or moral, so there's absolutely no surprise by the end of the episode. It is a great show, but it has its flaws like anything else.
Hot dog?
Don't you know what this unhealthy garbage does to ya?
Fills up my tummy, yummy, yummy.
The same I feel is true for Primos. It's a show with problems. It's not the most appealing looking to everybody. There's some boring ass episodes early on. Not every character is Nellie, but it got me hooked and it reeled me in. All those nitpicks became noise, like with any good show, and I had a great time with it. I love the world and the setting of the cramped house filled with cousins. I came from a prodigiously large family of cousins too, and have spent summers at camp or in birthday parties or holidays crammed in a small house with a bunch of relatives of different levels of familiarity. Maybe the show didn't really change the world, but it was real, you know? And it certainly didn't deserve to be scrapped so soon. Regardless of the controversy, I'm certain the network would have found some other bullshit reason to nip the show in the bud like they do with everything else. We can at least take some solace that the show has a pretty good ending as it stands. It feels oddly complete despite being cut short, and I think that's a testament to the strong writing and thematic and emotional throughline of Tater's growth. So, I'm glad. Even if it was just for one summer, that I got to spend it with this show, and thank you for inspiring me to get off my ass and finally do a real video again. Some will celebrate your downfall, and that's okay. In this house, we thank you. Adiós, Primos. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. It's been a long time since I made a real video essay / review, retrospective, whatever the hell you want to call it. So this is me kicking off the dust. Wanted to do something, kicking off the rust. Wanted to do something a little bit short and uncomplicated, so I chose Primos over something I really wanted to do, which was Stugo. I want to wait for the first season of that to end, which hasn't happened at the time of me recording this. But that one's going to be good, I promise you. This Primos video, again, I just expected it to be like 15, maybe 20 minutes at the most, and then it sort of like expanded as I was writing and as I was editing even. I added more to it. I guess I just had a lot to say about the show, and I guess I liked it a lot more than I thought I did, which I would say that I liked it a pretty good amount going into it. And then it sort of now has become one of those like weird emotional attachment kind of shows that I have, where I cooked way too hard while making a video on it, and now I'm like, yeah, this is like part of my identity now. Very similar to like the Camp Laszlo video. I feel like that accidentally cemented itself in my soul, and this might be very much the same. So thank you so much for watching through this and making it to the end. Subscribe if you haven't. Check out the Patreon. You know, you get Cartoon Buffoons a week early. What? Come on, it's a good time. And then join me next time. I probably will make another video between now and Stugo. Maybe not. I don't know. Hopefully it won't be anything that's ridiculously like 40 minutes or whatever. It'll be something nice and easy. But you guys have a great day.